What's going on, everyone? So Dragoborne has posted some winning deck lists on their articles section. So if you want to go over there and check that out, it might give you some deck building ideas if my videos are not the kind of style that you want to play. But yeah, I figured we could take these decks and break them down, and I would just talk about what I would do to change these decks and more suit my playstyle, or what I just didn't really care for in the deck. Also, I would like to start kind of a new series with this. So if you guys want, send me your deck lists and we'll break it down. Um, if you want me to include your name, um, then don't say anything. But if you would prefer your name kept private, I will black it out. All you have to do is ask, and if that's the case, just send me a screenshot or something on my Twitter. Um, as a private message, and maybe we'll talk about it in a future video. So anyways, I do have two decks that I wanted to talk about. Since I did mono red yesterday and said that it would be better with one other color, I decided we should take a look at these, since this first one is red, red, black, and the second one we're going to look at is red, red, green. So we'll just run through the deck real quick. So they were running 2 Vylon, 2 Zarko, 2 Albert, 1 Shadowcrest, 1 Lady Valistra, 2 Undying Executioner, 2 Fafnir, 3 Cavalier, 4 Sinister Festering Stringman, 2 Burbo, 2 Goblin Madcap, 4 Carefree Orc, 2 Gloss, 4 Highlands Rogue, 3 Sarg, 2 Gluttony, 2 Pyroblast, 2 Address Disdain, 4 Death Trap, 2 Earthcrack, and 2 Torch. So, I do actually kind of like the ratios that they put in here. The 3 Sarg is kind of strange to me. I thought they'd be maxed out on Sarg, since they are playing both Albert and Gluttony. I'm sorry, Albert and Carefree Orc. So, first thing I would do would probably bump Sarg up to 4, and maybe take out a Highlands Rogue, just to keep the costs all the same. I think running Earthcrack is definitely a good decision too, since they are playing red and black. But with running so many of the big boss monsters, I feel like it's kind of all over the place. That's just kind of my opinion. I would rather consistently draw one over relying on trying to draw the one Shadow Crest. But in my experience, Fafnir has definitely been a huge monster to take down your opponent and really allow you to push in. So I think I would up Fafnir to 3 and maybe take out a Zarko. That way all the flexibility is still there, but you are upping one of the better cards. Cavalier Nosferatu is another one that I don't really like at 3. I think 2 would be fine. I mean, it'll allow you to regrab your Carefree Orcs and Sargs once you get Outward on the field. So that might be the reasoning behind playing 3, and if it is, I would keep it at 3, just to guarantee that you have those monsters once Albert hits the field. Looking at the spells again, 2 Torch I don't really care for, just since we have things like Goblin Maid Avalanche. I get that Torch is a Fort Burst, but Goblin Maid Avalanche is a spell card that can target, or not target, but deal damage to all creatures at the fort. So I would play that over Torch, but maybe find some room for a Hidden Blade if you really want the Fort Bursts. So maybe bump down the Sinister Festering Stringman to 2 and put in 2 Hidden Blades. They both have 4 attack, so you wouldn't really be losing anything. They both cost 3 as well, but Hidden Blade is a Fort Burst. Sinister Festering Stringman is a nice choice because of the Cavalier. If it gets destroyed, you'll always have something to discard with Cavalier's effect. But yeah, this is a pretty solid deck in my opinion. We also got the Undying Executioner, which in playing I haven't been a personal fan of, but I have seen other people use it to its full advantage. but 2 Goblin Madcap seems like a good ratio just because it's not really an offensive card, and this deck seems to be playing more aggressively. 2 Pyroblast seems like a good ratio only because you're not maxed out on your red dice. And the 2 Address Disdain is also a good choice because it destroys a Drago Shield and a creature, potentially. So, yeah, I really don't have too much I would change in this deck other than the stuff I just mentioned. The 2 Burbo is a nice choice, just gets your String Man and now Hidden Blade up to a 5. So they'll be hitting for a lot. I do like the Lady Valistra in there. I think the 1 tech of her is a nice choice just to kind of put extra pressure on a mono deck. The Shadow Crest is interesting though. With that being a 7-drop, I mean, I rarely get to 7 resources with my mono red. Usually the game's over before that. Same with Zarko, but I mean, just having them there is going to be a really nice option if the time ever presents itself. So yeah, this does seem like a really solid deck, and if you were looking for something to run and didn't really care for the mono red deck that I did yesterday, try building this and playing around with it and uh, see how it works for you. But anyways, moving on to the next one. This is the 2 red, 1 green. So they've got 3 Sarg, again, which I'm curious as to why they aren't maxing out. 4 Goblin Madcap, 4 Goblin Toe Stabber, which we didn't see in the previous deck profile. 4 Highlands Rogue, 4 Carefree Orc, 3 Loss, 2 Vylon, 4 Doomfire Avatar, 3 Fafnir, 4 Zarko, 4 Kingslayer B, 2 Eleanor, 4 Mischievous Sprite, 4 Pyroblast, and 2 Goblin Maid Avalanche. So, first off, the one thing I don't like about this is the 4 Zarko. I think that is just a lot. Yeah, you have the Fafnir in there. However, I think they've got 7 there, and there's like 8 or 9 in the previous deck profile of larger creatures. So, I guess it does kind of keep that ratio the same, but I would recommend playing Terrax. I mean, you have the green. Terrax is an amazing card, and it could potentially cost less. So I would take out 2 Zarko to put in 2 Terrax, and that's pretty much it for the large creatures. So then, starting back up at the top, they've got the 3 Sarg, which I think is interesting. Not sure why they wouldn't max out on that, but it worked for them, so 3 Sarg must just be the magic number. 4 Goblin Madcap, 4 Goblin Toe Stabber, 4 Highlands Rogue. That is 15 1-drops. So, yeah, the field will be full of those. 4 Carefree Orc is really standard. I mean, it's one of the best cards right now. But 3 Loss is kind of strange. With the amount of 1-drops that they're running that are red, I think Loss should be bumped up to 4 because it is a Zarko in itself when you have that many red creatures. So, another thing I'm not seeing is they don't have any low-cost green creatures. So, I mean, turn 1, you're only going to be able to play out 2 of your 1-drop reds at max. So, for an aggro deck, I would want to push out more of my creatures. So, yeah, I would probably take out something for a Falthalas or I guess there really aren't that many low-cost green creatures. Tanglewood Druid, which would allow you to use your green resources to pay for a red. So that might be a interesting choice. It also gets the +2/+2 when you would play a non-green creature. So it'd be able to bump up to a +2/+2 on to hit a Drago Shield, unlike Highlands Rogue, which has to attack after another creature. So maybe bump Highlands Rogue down to 2 and then put in 2 Tanglewood Druid. I think that would kind of um, add in that green choice for turn 1. So then we got 4 Doomfire Avatar. I'm skipping over Outline because 2 is pretty standard, but 4 Doomfire Avatar seems like a lot. I mean, the deck's obviously working for them, so I'm not gonna say that it's not a wise choice, but I think that's where I would take one of those out to put in that extra loss. So 3 Doomfire Avatar, and that would it still have a higher number, so you'd be able to see it more often. But then jumping over the boss monsters down to Kingslayer B. I think that's why green works so well, is because it's got the 4 Kingslayer B. Um, it's just an amazing card. But then they've also got 2 Eleanor and 4 Mischievous Sprite. And the problem that I had with my mono red deck was that I was having trouble with ambushes, and they must have had the same thought process because they have 6 ambush removals. So yeah, I think that's a little bit excessive, but I mean it guarantees that you see it, and running so many other red creatures, um, your hand shouldn't be stacked full of them. But then the 4 Pyroblast, um, I don't really like that since there's not 3 dice. I mean, I get really unlucky with my dice rolls, but that's just me. Um, I mean, you might want to put in 2 Ravian or 2 Nature's Touch, um, instead of all 4 Pyroblasts. That might be able to do something. Bring back any big creature that dies. I mean, Fafnir has an on-summon effect. Doomfire Avatar has an on-summon effect. So there's a lot that Nature's Touch could do for this. But then the 2 Goblins made Avalanche is pretty good as well. Just like I said, going over the red, red, black. But there is no Fort Burst in here, which is kind of interesting to see. But again, it's not really necessary. I mean, my mono red deck was only playing 4 Fort Bursts, and that was Hidden Blade. And that was just because there aren't that many red cards right now. So yeah, I think this is a pretty solid deck. There's a lot less that I would change here than there was in the red, red, black deck. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought of these decks. Are you going to be trying to build one of these? And also, be sure to post your decks down below, and they might get featured in one of the upcoming videos. But as always, be sure to check out Dragoracle and the Facebook page, as well as my Twitter, and thanks for watching.